Ottawa Valley Stalker here. When talking about paranormal spoops in Ontario, most people focus on the area around the Greater Toronto area, not without reason. There's a vile vortex around that God's forsaken patch of dirt, or Northern Ontario. The amount of abandoned villages up that valley that were left desolate when plans to build rail lines were canned are one thing. There's also the large presence of Irish settlers, the biggest in Canada, which have left the stories of the She fairies, haunting the woods and rivers and sacred wells. There are the Polish Koshubs up around Willow, who claims a vampire stalks the woods around Madawaska. If you're a vampire hunting in the area, be sure to stop in town for some Kashubian sausage, best in Canada. Wendigos on the Quebec side of the valley, old wives' tales like the thronging songs of Ghost Hill, the ghostly Highlanders of Point Fortune, the spectral wolves of Malakoff, the witch of Plum Hollow, who was consulted by our first 3 prime ministers who saw auguries from her, the witch coven of Earl D, etc. I'm not going to tell you about those today. Today I'm going to tell you about the she-folk of Mount St. Pat. First, some background. Mount St. Patrick was so named when the area at the foot of the mountain is a stretch, it's a very tall hill, was settled by one Father McCormack in 1869. He built a church and cemetery there, both of which still exist today. It wasn't that long after all. It is said that he found a spring in the area, and from that he built a well. This is the Holy Well on Holy Well Road, Pick related. Now, what isn't well known is the fact that during the Mackenzie King administration, the well was reconsecrated to the goddess Sulis by a group of neo-druids returning from the Second World War. Word is that one of the pictures of the Virgin Mary inside the well isn't actually a depiction of Sulis, and the Christians who draw water from the well are none the wiser. Having heard this, I convinced a group of my friends to stop by on the way of our yearly camping trip. It was a bit out of the way. We usually bushwhack into the lake system just west of Calabogie. It was about 3 p.m. when we got out of my friend Johan's SUV to take a look at the well. I went inside and made an offering of 9 loonies and asked Sulis to protect us on our journey and to attract fish to our lines. I had a fierce hankering for that shore lunch. Yuck no bud? I took one of the bottles of well water, available for free. Now, there are local legends about leprechauns in the area. I can't rightly say if my prior knowledge of this brought this feeling or not, but on my way back to my buddy's SUV, out of the corner of my eye, in the trees by the creek near the well, Constant Creek, which, ironically, Father McCormick drowned in while trying to collect water. Perhaps he was pushed by an angry she spirit. I couldn't quite make it out, but it was maybe 3 feet tall? Hard to say. It was more of an impression in the corner of my eye than anything else. I brushed it off and we set out for Calabogie. On the way, the 4 of us, myself, Johan, Zach, and Tony, enjoyed catching up. We've known each other since high school, and we don't see each other as much as we used to, so we spent the drive catching up, talking shit, the kind of thing anyone does with old friends. We end up not going the way that we usually do, and found an old logging road we used to get into the bush. Bushwhacking for about 20 minutes until we came to a lake called Fox Lake, northeast of Ashby Lake, for those with cottages in the area. We pitched our tents, get the brews out. Zach immediately casts a line and starts hacking darts. I join him, though instead of hacking darts, I crack open a Vimy microbrew. For the next several hours, we all fish, while Tony does some whittling and Johan takes a nap. The whole time, I feel like we're being watched. I mention it to Zach, but he tells me to never mind. We managed to catch 4 trout and a couple of bass. Thanks, Sulis. We let most of them go, but cooked the trout. It's getting dark now, a bit late for a shore lunch. So we have shore supper, an a la grill Montreal chicken spice. Absolutely perfect. The whole time, I can't shake that feeling though. It's getting dark, so I join Tony to collect some firewood. Tons in the area. At some point, we come to a little stream. Tony's off somewhere behind me getting wood. I crouch down, cup my hands, and take a drink of the water. It's nice, cool, sweet. I've got a water bottle on me, but who cares? A snapped twig catches my attention. Tone? Nothing. I look around and my friends are nowhere to be seen. It's twilight now. The crimson amber rays of the sun filter through the trees, and an albino crow lands on the tree branch not too far from where I am. Fuck bud, this is getting weird. I turn around to get back to camp, when suddenly I see a couple of tiny little figures skirting around behind trees. I can hear laughter. What the fuck is going on? The hairs on the back of my neck stand up straight. Why do I feel like prey to a bunch of midgets? I start running. I know. Great way to get lost. Fuck. I try and follow the shoreline back to camp, but if any of you have been along the shores of these isolated lakes, it's hard to do because they're full of thicket and brush. At some point, I trip, or at least I think I trip. Something might have pushed me. I can hear the scurry of little feet. At this point, I pull out the bottle of Sulis water and start praying all over it as I shout, "In the name of Sulis of the waters, I command you to leave me be. I mean you no harm." Now, this is gonna sound like some schizo shit, but I swear on my ancestors' honor that this happened. A bright light shone before my eyes, and I swear I could see the image of a woman crowned with a crescent moon. The next thing I knew, I came to the sound of my friends calling my name. I call back. Johan finds me and helps me up. There's a pile of kindling neatly arranged next to me. It's not kindling I located. Rest of the camping trip went great. A feeling of levity, warmth, and camaraderie permeated the entire weekend. Not the most exciting story, but there it is. When I'm in the area, I always make sure to leave an offering for Solas, as thanks for letting the SG know I'm not a Christian and I mean them no harm. I have some other stories from the region, but I've gotta run. Might post more if thread is still active later. This is all he would post, the thread would end up dying. This happened about 2 years ago. It's something I've only told one other person since. Pick is of the town. It's shit for a reason. Explained later. Be Canuck, Vancouver area. Be 19 with a fresh pal and ability to legally drink. Plan a trip up north. Dad tells me about an old abandoned mining town his friend worked at in the 60s. Gives us location. Decide to bring native bro from high school. We both own guns. Ask my dad if I can borrow his all-wheel drive Honda Passport from the 90s. He accepts. Bro brings SVT-40. I bring SMLE number 1 MK3. Drive past Kamloops by about 200 kilometers. Takes about 2 days of driving. Spend one uneventful night at abandoned trailer park. Eventually find ourselves on back roads using ancient maps Dad provided. Modern maps and GPS don't have roads on record. Clearly old logging roads, not used for at least a few years. Eventually reach Old Town. Desolate as fuck. A few collapsing wood buildings. Starting to get late, but light enough to snap a few pics. Brought old Nikon FM2 because I didn't want to risk my digital. Bro and I set up camp next to a car in an open semi-gravel area. Used wood from old buildings as firewood. Gets dark. Cook a few cans of beans and some salmon native bro caught a few days before. Out comes the beer. Head to tent mildly inebriated. Decided to go in the woods the next day. Late night / early morning. Heard multiple human footsteps outside. Probably just native bro. Go back to sleep Anon. Realized native bro is sleeping next to me about 5 minutes later. Wake up bro quietly. Both grab rifles. An open tent. Nothing there. Go back to sleep Anon. Probably just a dream. Agree with bro and sleep. Wake up next morning somewhat early. Native bro already awake making breakfast. Frying god tier canned sardines. Anon. It wasn't a dream. Takes a minute for mine to remember. Bro points out multiple boot tracks into campsite. Not ours for sure. I'm visibly more creeped out than native bro. Native bro grew up on a shitty reserve. Seen some shit etc. Decide we'll lock our gear in the car. Both of us want to investigate. Consult map. Go in the woods with day packs of limited food, water, first aid, oil lamps and flashlights as well. We each have a reasonable amount of ammo, 40 rounds of new production, PRVI, 174GR full metal jacket .303. Bro has a couple of X54R stripper clips in his coat pocket. Start moving in the direction of the footsteps. Native bro is a good hunter / tracker, but loses the trail about a mile in. Decide to continue in the direction of the tracks anyways. Creeped out at this point. Native bro is pissed that he lost the tracks. Hike about 5 miles. Find some more abandoned stuff. Starts getting dark. Realize we got carried away and realize it'd be unwise to head back. Eat some cold beans since we don't want to attract attention with a fire and then sleep. Wake up in the middle of the night to whispering. Takes a minute for eyes to adjust to low light. Look over at sleeping native bro. Realize there's 2 black cloaked figures over him. One is touching his face. They're talking in English but not audibly. Just about shit myself. SMLE is across my lap. Flip off safety as quietly as I can. One of them starts reaching for bro's SVT next to him. Raise rifle to my hip slowly, pointing in their general direction. Fire off first shot. Doors hammer.png. The fuckers see me rise up while working the bolt and run. They start screaming, like you'd expect someone getting their eyes ripped out to. Native bro practically shits himself and gets down. Mad minute into the forest. Takes about a minute of frantically throwing our gear together to get out. panic and start running in a random direction. Get caught up running through the brush. Native bro and I are somewhat fit, both an army cadet since we were young. Run for a good 20 minutes, stop to catch our breath. Anon, what the fuck? Explain what happened to bro. He looks horrified, more than usual. Tells me about some cult that committed crimes on the reserve. Says Royal Canadian Mounted Police couldn't do anything since it was native land. Linked to disappearances and child abuse. Reserve is maybe 200 kilometers from us. Nobody ever convicted. When our nerves calm, we consult our map and compass. Realize there's a clearing near us and use that to navigate. Forgo lights in favor of quiet movement. Move slowly for about 6 hours. Periodic map and compass checks. Tired as fuck when we arrive at the tree line near the camp. Despite being dark, we realize there's movement in our camp. 3 hooded figures and what seems to be a man with a deer's head trying to get into our car. Hands are shaking. Mom's spaghetti. Start moving down the hill. Not paying attention because of no sleep. Foot catches root. Crash and roll downhill. Fettuccine Alfredo.jpg. Cut up and bruised but otherwise fine. All 4 of them are screaming and moving towards me. Unaware of native bro still being in the tree line. Deerhead leader is naked. Cock flaying everywhere. He's about 10 feet away from me. Realize he's got a fucking hatchet. Realize I won't be able to raise my SMLE in time. I'm gonna die here, .gif. Make my peace with the God Emperor. 2 shots ring out in rapid succession. Deer man drops his hatchet, clutches his chest, pulls one leg up and fucking drops. Hooded figures hesitant now that their leader just took some Soviet glory to the chest. Pick myself up and raise SMLE. Sort of aim at the middle of the 3 and fire. What I assume to be a hip shot drops him. He's screaming like a motherfucker. At this point, native bro is next to me. Out of what I suppose was pure anger, one of them charges us with a long knife, maybe a short sword. Native bro and I both fire a shot. We both hit him. Practically goes limp instantly. Last remaining uninjured fucker tries dragging his injured friend off. I'm hesitant to shoot since they're backing off, but native bro shoots the uninjured one in the head. He keeps moving for about half a second before dropping. We check the bodies. Realize the deer man was just a guy wearing the head of a deer. X-54R blew his chest open. Blood and mashed organs everywhere. Last 2 were dead as fuck. Old rounds like that really mash organs and bone. Last guy remaining alive is pleading for his life. Realize he's not pleading with us. Screaming into the sky about some sort of strangely named deity / god / whatever. Can't remember it for the life of me. Anon, we can't let him live. Realize native bro is right. Threat of cult coming after us or police finding out is too great if he lives. Don't want to do it. Offer SMLE to native bro. He simply kneels down and slits the guy's throat. Whispers something for Sierra. We pick up as much of our brass as we can, pack up the car and get the fuck out. Light out by the time we get to the main road. Adrenaline dying down. Realize that I just killed someone. Break down in the car and cry like a little bitch. Pull over and have bro talk about it. Tells me we did it in self-defense. Feels like there's more to it for him. Sober up and continue on the road. We take it easy and stay at motels the rest of the way back. End up eating at the White Spot in Hope. Completely silent over the meal. Realize how hungry I am. Barely ate twice on the way back. Remainder of the ride back is spent in complete silence. Drop native bro off at his apartment in North Van. We exchange an awkward silence and a few smiles. He hugs me for some reason. Call it gay if you want to, but I needed that shit. Get back home. Lock bedroom door. Keep loaded SMLE next to bed. Sleep for the better part of the day and a half. Meet up with dad to return car. Remember what native bro said about Sierra. Turns out she was bro's older sister who was kidnapped as a kid. Ended up an alcoholic and druggie. Hanged herself when she was about 16. Shitbricks. Asked dad why the town was abandoned. Well, Anon, the mine dried up and many of the residents resorted to illegal industry to make a living. Asked specifics. Said he doesn't know. He'll ask his friend who lived there. Friend died 6 months later of lung cancer. Never had the chance to ask him. Even more frustrating than the nightmares is not knowing what the fuck happened. Can't seem to find the town or the town's name online. And I've since wanted to go back with a larger group. Probably gonna wait a few years though. Pick related, it's some of my guns. I still own that damn SMLE. Be me, 19, staying winter with uncle. Northern Inner Woods, Ontario. Nearest town is less than 1,000 population and like 30 minutes away. Huge property, forest on Canadian Shield. Backs onto a river at a base of a cliff / ravine. Large cave system under the property. Many openings in cliff face. Middle of November and bored, so go hiking to these caves. Uncle tells me to get back by sundown and be careful of animals near the caves. Gives me survival kit and bear mace. No gun because Canada. I bring lunch of steak sandwich. Take overgrown trail down the river. Follow river for like 30 minutes to get to caves. See a big cave I'm going to eat lunch in. Walk up the cave. There's garbage everywhere. Mostly food wrappers. Also, things no animals would be interested in like light bulbs and pens. Ready bear may spray. Move closer to cave. Hoarders buried alive intro.mp4. Smells like a neat's basement nest. Catch movement in my peripheral. Turn to see a white blur dart behind some brush. Dawns on me that it's dead fucking quiet. It has the high ground. Engage the nope drives. Start booking it out of there. Hear loud screech and then a thud near the cave. Glance back to see 8 foot tall thing. Sort of like pick attached, but off-white and had a more domed head. It has claws. I can feel it staring angrily at me. Stand frozen with bear mace ready. This thing is getting closer. Book it. Thumping and crunching of snow. Get an idea. Throw my lunch. Crunching noise stops. Glance back. It took the bait. Keep booking it. Last thing I see of that thing is it standing just outside where all the garbage was, watching me. Get back to my uncle. He's standing on the porch with a shotgun. Tells me to get in the house. Doesn't come in for another 3 hours. Uncle grabs some booze, sits down, tells me what I just met was the winter man. It stays in the caves when it's above freezing fucking cold outside. Takes everything it can find to its seasonal nest. Mostly just littered garbage. Rarely will approach lone houses like my uncle and try to get in sheds or garages. Uncle has had to shoot at this thing in previous winters when it comes near the house. He's only seen it a handful of times in the 20 years he has lived there. Mostly sees it wandering around the brush, but it never acted aggressive unless he was near the nest. Also never chased him past the area of the nest. He says to avoid the river area. Never spoke of it again after that night. Saw it a few more times, but it was just a glimpse of it skulking around in the woods. I've brought it up to my uncle a few times since, but he ignores me or switches the topic.